So now we have our scene, if you will, and our scene is the parking lot that we were just looking at. We're just going to go with intrusion. I want to know when something's coming on to my property. So now I'm going to go up, I'm going to select my LPR, and this will generate an initial name, but you can always turn around. You can modify that to what you need it to be. Now, you notice under target object, because I'm using LPR right now for that camera, my only AI analytic, or my analytic applied to this camera, is license plate. All right, so let's do this. Let me save what we've started here. Okay, well, let me save it because it's target set class. I'm going to go back up to sources. I'm going to go back up to video, and I'm going to change LPR, and let's make that, like I said, human vehicle. And I want to know normal speed and fast objects. All right, apply.
So how much of a difference do those, human normal, like faster objects, how much of a difference do like each of them make? Let's say you have one for normal objects and one of them faster objects.
It's either normal or normal plus fast. So normal is somebody walking. Now, we know people walk at various speeds. My fiance complains I walk faster than her. I complain she walks slower than me. But we're both walking. We just walk at different speeds. So normal is a percentage of speed, if you will, that you are expecting somebody to move within the scene. Now, bear in mind, camera frame rate comes into concern. If you're looking at a scene where a lot of people are walking and you have a low frame rate, it's going to look like that person is jumping from spot to spot.
Yeah.
May or may not work with the intended analytic that you're setting up. Higher frame rate, smoother visual of the person walking around. Now, what if you have somebody who walks very fast? I mean, if you've ever seen people around the office, you got some people who, even though they're walking, you would swear they're running. They just have a long stride.
Yeah.
Or they just move, or just their normal pace is very fast. So, fast object. Goes back to observation. Deploy the device. Give it a burn-in period to see what's being detected and what's not. Start off at human normal.
Right.
If you find that there's that one person out of the group who happens to actually be walking fairly fast and not being properly detected because of the speed that they move, switch the analytic over to normal fast.
Would consecutive frames have to do with that as well?
Yes.
Because I remember you saying that person has to be in that frame for more than 1.5 seconds for it to detect it. Would that option help that frame rate?
Again, it's a yes and no. When you're looking at 1 frame per second detection, you are restricting the function of the object classification greatly. You're really constraining a device's ability to recognize what's going on in that 1 frame in that less than 1.5 second time frame. So if you've got somebody who's walking very fast, you gotta estimate that they're only going to get recognized or classified based off of the number of frames that they are on screen at a given moment. If it turns out that they're on screen for 5 seconds, you can safely set that frame rate to 5 or 4 because you know they're going to be in their frame for that amount of time. If you have somebody who's moving very, very fast, they may only be on frame for that 1 frame shot. In which case, then yes, you put up the classification for 1 frame, but bear in mind, diminishing returns, the less time an object is on screen, the lower the percentage of accuracy in classifying that object. So even though you can set it for 1 frame, if that object is not on screen more than 1.5 seconds, that 1 frame won't matter.
So in that case, you would want more frames.
You'd want to try to make sure that person or object is on screen for more than 1 frame, but you also want to make sure that the AI is utilizing a faster algorithm or faster detection. Now, I say that, bear in mind the resource impact when you use the higher speed requirement, the faster analytic, the more resources are going to be utilized. So if I go back to video sources, let's take our LPR, set to none, just so that we have that baseline. We can see 975 is currently used. We're going to say human vehicle normal, jump up to 1095. If we say human vehicle normal faster objects, 1455. Our resource requirement goes up. Now, what this basically means from the analytics side is that I'll have more confidence in using less frame rate for classification because I'm using a more powerful AI version that is faster on the detection standpoint. But again, it's not an absolute here. It just means I can have greater confidence that the object will be properly classified at a lower frame rate. So let's apply that.
and that AI algorithm go up with the amount of cameras you have, or is that 2,000 just set?
Well, it's nothing to
Or,
do with the cameras and everything to do with the amount of resources that the AI box has available.
right, so in this case,
So
this is a 16 channel. It only has 2,000
there's
available.
2,000 maximum AI units that I have available. So whether I add 4 cameras to this box and they end up utilizing all the algorithm because of the AI that I use, or I'm able to do 16 cameras because I'm using AI algorithms or I'm using AI detection at a lower resource requirement. So like if I turn around and say, you know what, I want human and vehicle fast. See how everything's just grayed out now? It has to be, I don't want to use the term even distribution because that implies that the units have to be evenly dispersed across all 16 channels. It doesn't mean that. It just means that whatever you use for an algorithm, whatever you're trying to detect, make sure you're being specific because it optimizes your available resources. So TSD exit, I know is inside. It's only people I got to worry about. I'm not worried about vehicles.
Right.
So I'm going to set that to human being. Let me change my entrance because my entrance, again, it's just a human. I say that like it's, it's just a human. But you can see that now I can go human, normal, fast object. See, got to balance. So where else can I balance? Let's just say that this camera, vehicle doesn't really matter. Human matters. So I may or may not have freed up enough. Nope, I have not. You can see how what I'm applying really is going to be indicative of what I have available from a resource perspective. So maybe I do human normal for this, and now I have my human normal fast. So for my TSD entrance and exit, you can see it's a small space, and I'll show you that again in a second. Let me just save what I've done here. So again, remember, intent and purpose based on deployment. Here's my TSD entrance. Here's my TSD exit. No vehicle to worry about, so I'm going to be concentrating on human beings. But whereas this area right here, I could just use human normal because I'm going to see the person coming from basically a pretty good distance. They're going to be on screen for quite a few seconds.
Yeah, so you wouldn't need the faster
Right,
object.
I need the faster here. So knowing that, I'm going to go back to my one over here, resource, my exit, and let's just change it to human normal. And I've just made available, I've balanced my resources basically. So now if I find that I need, like for here, where my camera is, if I needed to use human normal faster objects, I could. Or if it was, there's a vehicle there, human and vehicles are my concern, I could. So it's balancing what is actually the intent of the scene.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to security. Let's go back to my action rule. My trigger. I'm looking for intrusion. I'm looking at my LPR camera. Let's scroll down here a bit. There's my view down there, so that's always helpful. Again, I can change this title to whatever I need it to be. The rule of thumb for the name, it's got to tell you what its intended purpose is. So I could say intrusion and I could say parking lot. Now, if I go to target object, you can see now my AI, this is where the AI is coming in, will allow me to do a person, it'll allow me to do a bike, and it'll allow me to do a car. So basically classify an object coming onto the scene as either person, bike, or car. Another way to think about it, it's filtering out everything else. So if it's not a person, it's not a bike, it's not a car, I don't care. I can do ignore duplicate event. So what I'm basically saying is if that car, person, or bike comes on scene and for whatever reason I do a double acknowledgement, if it happens within a certain time frame, ignore it. It doesn't matter because I've already been informed of the object being on scene. Remove that. That's another tool that you can utilize to reduce false positives. So like again, using the parking lot example and car lights. So headlights come across the parking lot and within less than 5 minutes, another set of headlights come across the parking lot. Ignore it. It's not relevant.
Right. So right now there's white squares around the cars right now. Is that because why is that happening? Because that's an issue we're having.
The screen we're in right now is setup. So in setup, everything's on. Nothing is committed yet. Nothing is configured yet. So everything's going to pop up, and you're going to get all this information. The time to worry about the detection part of things is going to be as you go through this and you begin to set what's relevant and what's not. Bear in mind, we've already set the camera to have a minimum and a maximum size. Yeah. So if these cars are being detected, it's being detected because they are within that minimum maximum size requirement. But we're still setting this box up to have a response to that event. So we're going to go back up. So our intrusion label, in this case, because we're doing the advanced setup, intrusion count, because what the advanced setup basically allows you to do is this. If you are counting, I can basically say, you know what, I want my count to reset at 2300 every night, because at that point I'm not expecting anybody to come onto my property and I don't need a count of what's happening. Now again, I don't need to use that if I'm not counting. So what would be my other option that I could use, or either in conjunction or not use? Well, another tool, ignore static objects. So what am I saying? I'm saying that I have a bunch of static cars here. They've been sitting there. They're not moving. Ignore them. So now I've just created another filter, another layer to reduce my false positives. Remember, I'm in AI at this point, not analytic. The analytics already been set. So there's a person. So what zone am I interested in? What is relevant to me? Where do I want my detection? In this case, we're talking AI. Think of it as, where do I want my filter? I want my filter, if I'm creating my red zone, which in this case right now would be considered the red zone. Again, I'm not going to get perfection because I'm remoted in. I could set minimum and maximum right here. Again, this is from the AI side, not the analytics side. So now I could basically tell the AI, hey, if the person doesn't fall within this size, I don't care. See how these people came out of the zone and they're no longer being tracked?
Yeah.
But she or he, I can't tell, their back is turned, is in the zone, they're still being tracked. So again, I'm not setting up anything in a specific fashion. That's my zone there. I'd have to create a new rule basically to create my secondary zone. Leave this as intrusion, and now I'm going to come up and I'm going to create another one. And again, this could be for the same spot. This is intrusion 2. Again, person, bike, car. I'll have to give this my second name. We'll go to advance. And this is going to be my yellow zone. Now, I may need to hit apply before I see it. Yeah, I'm going to have to hit apply before I see it, but let's just get my minimum and maximum in there. Like I said, we build this in a layer approach. So that's going to go there. This is going to go here. We can kind of see the outline of the other zone right there. You get the idea at this point. I've created a second zone, and this is my intrusion zone 2. Or my yellow zone. So basically now I can create actions that say, you know what, if somebody comes into my yellow zone, notify me. But it's an FYI, it's not an alert. But if somebody gets into my red zone, not only do I want to be notified, but I want alarms and everything going off. So now I've got 2 layers to that.